I'm Vienna Rothberg. We are staff people at Violence Prevention and Response at MIT. We're here to talk to you about healthy, unhealthy, and abusive behaviors within relationships. Now, normally we have about an hour to talk about these things, and so we can get into a lot of nuance. And we were struggling trying to figure out, like, how are we going to do this in like a quick little video and have it be like cute and snappy. So we don't really have a good answer for you. We want to give you just the very beginning of what we might want to talk about. So a lot of times people will come to us and they'll ask us, like, oh, what are the red flags for an abusive relationship? And I want to say, all right, great, we can talk about that, but let's take a couple steps earlier and let's talk about what the healthy behaviors are that you might want to shoot for. So, you know, respect and communication and all of those lovely things, right? But we want you to know as well what unhealthy behaviors are. And unhealthy behaviors, there can be a couple of them in any relationship. Certainly it gives us room to grow and things to kind of talk out. Yeah?
Yeah. So that makes sense that, like, in any sort of healthy relationship, you also have healthy behaviors and unhealthy behaviors. Now, people often are like, okay, got it. What about the abusive ones and also the unhealthy ones? Like, how do I distinguish that? So the way I like to think about it is that with an unhealthy behavior, depending on the frequency, the intensity, and the response to that behavior, that's what shifts it back to the healthy side or leans it towards the abusive side. So for example, you might notice in a friendship that your friend is like jealous and they might make some offhanded comments about like you hanging out with other people. Now, if you bring this up to them and they're like, oh my gosh, yes, it's been on my mind, like, I'm sorry, like, you have the right and autonomy to your own time. Great, we're heading towards healthy behaviors of acknowledging choice and autonomy, so it's shifting towards health. Now, if that person ends up responding with defensiveness, or they kind of double down on like, yeah, actually I don't want you to hang out with those people, you're heading towards behaviors of isolation, and that's on the abusive side. So again, not cut and dry between all unhealthy and abusive, but those are some tools that I like to use to help me distinguish from the two.
There are some things, I know Gerline just talked about, like severity of the behavior. There are some things that are just absolutely crossing the line. So a hallmark of abusive behaviors is that they aim to control another person's behavior. So they rely on a misuse of power to control another person. Or to denigrate a person's like humanity. So like an abusive behavior that is there's just a no-go after this is name calling. Name calling when it shows up in a relationship is really just like I guess it's a red flag. It's a symptom that shows up that kind of indicates like a deep rot. It's indicating like a deep level of disrespect and disregard for another person's autonomy and humanity. So that level of disrespect, there's not an easy road back. And that level of disrespect being communicated really is a one-person issue. It's no longer between two people. It's a one person acting out in a way that only they really on their own can solve.
So we know that was a lot of information and hopefully gives you just a taste and a framework of like, I'm going to shift from calling relationships healthy, unhealthy, or abusive to calling the behaviors healthy, unhealthy, or abusive, and then making choices with that accordingly. But we would love to continue the conversation. We're going to point to some resources. You can check out our website, which we'll link to, so we can continue to get into the nuance.
Yeah, and if you are experiencing a feeling that is uncomfortable in a relationship, trust your gut. It's time to reach out when you feel that something isn't quite right. So if you're worried about a friend or you're worried about yourself and it doesn't feel like totally healthy, people tend to downplay the lack of health or downplay the abuse because love is so great and healthy things are so lovely, and even abusive relationships have healthy aspects. So don't hesitate to reach out if you feel unease. It's enough to call us and talk to us.
Thank you.
Thanks.